I know what you're thinking. You're thinking that I was not going to show up, but it's not true. I am here. My internet is working. It's one of those things like let's rock into 2019 with a trouble-free time. Well, no trouble-free time. It's going to be just like the rest of 2018 where my internet is going to go which is exactly what happened. Okay, anyway, let's get on with this video, shall we? Okay, my sound check is all good. While people are jumping into the room, I do apologise for the scheduling issues. Since I have not been doing many live streams, it's sort of a bit hard to know what's going on. And since usually I put out a video every single day, you would have expected to see something, but it didn't work out that way. Anyway, it doesn't matter. If you're rewatching the video, check down in the description. You will find down there the start time. Once I get past all of my rambling and junk and nonsense while people jump into the room before we start, you will find it down there so you get past all of this. Now, if you're not part or haven't ever been part of my live streams, I definitely say hi to people, but if you have questions and feedback, give those near the end, so make sure you type them into the live chat and I'll get to you as soon as I possibly can, but I will present the video. Now we're going to have maps and miniatures, so don't worry about the screen you're seeing right now. Okay, so let's crack into it and we'll start. Hi, welcome to HowtoDandD. My name is Fred Wheeler and today I want to talk about Dungeons & Dragons 5e. In fact, we're going to do a mini combat tutorial on the Ranger. And I have picked a quote that I thought was quite nice. I didn't really watch a lot of Bear's Grylls, but I think that survival can be summed up in 3 words: never give up. And this, I think, is what is really sort of behind the Ranger. I'm thinking Bear Grylls when I think Ranger. That's my sort of idea. Aragorn from the Lord of the Rings, that sort of thing. And of course, when we get into playing a Ranger, there's always the option of getting into a battle, provided you haven't been able to sneak up on your enemy and dispose of them or sneak past them or anything like that. But your Ranger is essentially your I wouldn't say your nature lover, but an individual who is familiar with the world around them, with the wilds, far off locations. They're not really part of the civilized world, although they do from time to time go to the comforts of a town or civilization. What's in their blood is traversing difficult areas and terrain, the wilds, the forests, maybe even the Underdark. Lots of different options are available. So when it comes to the Ranger, I have selected for today a pre-generated character sheet from the Dungeons & Dragons website, their official website, and there is a whole bunch of pre-generated character sheets. Now, I have selected the Elf Ranger at level 1. And the reason for this is because, well, it makes it really simple for me, and 2, you can download it yourself. It gives you characters from levels 1 right through to level 10. I'm putting it up here on the screen for you, but you can check out the details and a link for that down in the description if you want to later on. Now, the background we have for a Ranger, Outlander makes so much sense, and having the feature Wanderer, so you have an excellent memory of maps and geography, so that this essentially allows you to traverse locations without essentially having to work too hard. In other words, you don't have to roll quite so many dice. Part of the concept of playing a Ranger is that you can traverse an area, get people from one place to another without getting lost. And Wanderer means that basically you can find food, fresh water for yourself and up to 5 players or other people, that's your party essentially, each day, provided that the land offers berries, small game, water and so forth. So essentially you don't have to worry about that survival check the Dungeon Master might ask you to make while you're exploring your location or travelling from point A to point B. You can pick up a faction if you like. The Emerald Enclave is a good choice. There are others. The personality traits, ideals, bonds and flaws, really not unrelated to combat. And I know that a lot of the background stuff on the Ranger isn't really related to combat, but I thought I would go over it briefly anyway. Fey Ancestry. So you have advantage on saving throws against being charmed and magic that can put you to sleep. Well, it can't put you to sleep now because you are an elf. You have dark vision, so you can see 60 feet in dim light as if you are in bright light, and in darkness you can see as if it's dim light. Can't discern colours, but you will have a disadvantage on perception checks. I know a lot of people forget that. Mask of the Wild. I've had a few people ask me, what's the deal with Mask of the Wild? So you can attempt to hide even when you are only lightly obscured by foliage, heavy rain, falling snow, mist, and other natural phenomena. Now, I don't want to get into a battle with anybody about what is designated as light obscurity. Usually you have to have heavy obscurity or total cover to be able to attempt to hide or use a stealth check to not be seen. That doesn't mean you can't make stealth checks to not be heard, but if you can be seen, it won't matter if they can hear you or not. Favoured enemy. Now, one of the gripes about the Ranger is a lot of their features are, as it seems, unrelated to combat. So why am I talking about them? Well, I want to explain why they are useful to you in the game. You get favoured enemy. So you get to select a creature of your choice. In this particular case, it's a dragon. So you have significant experience, study, tracking, hunting, and even talking with a particular creature. In this case, it's a dragon. So you now have advantage on wisdom or survival checks to track down dragons. Sounds like a really bad idea, but if you want to be tracking down dragons, then you're going to do pretty well with this character sheet, or you're going to die very shortly. As well as any kind of intelligence check to recall information on them. Super helpful. So now you can track down that dragon, find it, talk to that dragon in its own language, Draconic, before it kills you, eats you, and takes your stuff. Fantastic. And as I said, you can see right now, really useful to have in combat. Natural Explorer is another feature. Now you get a particular terrain that is associated with something you're familiar with. And this particular character has selected forest terrain. I know when people pick up something like Natural Explorer, there is a temptation by the Dungeon Master to say, well, no, you can't be familiar with the Underdark, even though you're going to be spending most of your time in the Underdark in this adventure, because that would be metagaming. But would a ranger who is familiar with the Underdark not have their favoured terrain as the Underdark? Would somebody who's only familiar with the forest suddenly go exploring in the Underdark? I'm just asking the question. It seems like a no-brainer to me. So some of the features you get with the Natural Explorer is when you make an intelligence or a wisdom check related to forest terrain, your proficiency bonus is doubled. So if you're level 1, that's instead of being a proficiency bonus of 2, it's going to be 4. And this is when you are using a skill related to wisdom or intelligence checks. Pretty good if you ask me. While traveling for an hour or more in a forest terrain, you gain the following benefits. So it works sort of on an hourly basis, but truthfully it doesn't really matter. Difficult terrain doesn't slow down your group's speed. Not so helpful in combat, but good if you're trying to escape somebody and run away from them. And also if you have to get from point A to point B really quickly. Your group can't become lost except by magical means. And I know a few dungeon masters are like rubbing their heads now and thinking, yeah, but if I have a whole adventure revolving around, that's an egg tray falling off the wall. If I have an adventure where getting lost is built into the mechanics of the game and suddenly somebody decides to select forest and we're in that forest area and they can never get lost, then that sort of defeats me using mechanics for getting lost. Well, that's the benefit. If one of the players choose to pick Ranger, that's the benefits. That makes a lot of sense, actually, if you ask me. If you're going to go into the lands of Chult, into the forest, take a Ranger with you who's familiar with forest terrain. Makes perfect sense. It's not actually, I wouldn't even call it metagaming or unfair or weird or anything like that. It actually makes complete sense. It's when magical means and spells and effects are in place that they might get lost. So it's up to you how you play that out. Even when you are engaged in another activity while traveling, so even if you are distracted doing something else, you still remain alert to danger. So what that essentially means is you can keep using your passive perception even if you decide to do something else while you're traveling. Now, if you were normally traveling from point A to point B and you were involved in another activity, then you wouldn't get to use any kind of passive check or even an active check, because you're not actually involved in being aware of danger around you. So quite a good feature for a ranger, hence is related to combat, because it will certainly make a big difference when you start getting into the first part of combat. You might very well be one of the few individuals who's doing something else who actually spots the dangers, which is good. If you are traveling alone, which I have to say is probably a really bad idea for any character, but if you are traveling alone, you can move stealthily at a normal pace. So instead of having to move slower, you don't need to worry about doing that. It doesn't really come up very much, and it certainly won't play much of a part in combat. It's just there. When you are foraging, you can find twice as much food as you normally would. Oh, that could be helpful, particularly if the party grows and we have a few stragglers and people we have to drag along with us. While tracking other creatures, you can also learn their exact number, so how many there are, their size, and how long ago they passed through that area. Very useful for tracking any kind of thing. Now we have an armor class of 15, we have 11 hit points, which is pretty awesome if you ask me. I'm not even sure how that's, yeah, that's what it is. It's a 10 plus the 1 con, that'll be the reason. And have a speed of 35 feet. We have a pretty decent dexterity and wisdom, so +3s to our modifiers in both of those. And we have a proficiency in the strength and dexterity saving throws. When it comes to skills, athletics, insight, nature, perception, stealth, survival, all pretty no-brainers. They're pretty standard. We have proficiency with light and medium armor. We are proficient with simple weapons, martial weapons, and we can play the flute if we want to. We can speak Common, Elvish, Draconic, and Orcish. Could be quite useful in this situation. We'll see how we go. And we got access to a short sword and a longbow. Now, if you decide to carry 2 short swords, you can most certainly go 2-weapon fighting with your ranger at level 1 without having any kind of trained skill or feat or class feature. It doesn't matter. Anybody can do it as long as you have 2 light weapons, 1 in each hand. Then you can go 2-weapon fighting if you want to. Okay, so let's crack on over to the battle mat and the grid, which is sort of being bombarded by the sunshine, so hopefully you can actually make out what's going on. If you can't, you will let me know. All right, so here we go. I need to have a drink of water before I pass out. It's really hot in here. So our situation is that we have a ranger over here who is exploring ahead of the party, as you might tend to expect with a ranger. They're doing this because they don't want the clunky ones to give away their location while they're doing their stealth check. Essentially, that's the concept behind it, right? So we're moving along and we're trying to be very, very, very stealthy, and it's not going to be very helpful if somebody else is hanging around with us. We're moving along the King's Road using the cover. We won't worry about that orc over there, just forget about him for now. We're tracking down what happens to be a dragon. For some reason, this character is level 1 and is trying to track down a dragon. Hopefully so that somebody else can try and kill it rather than they try to do it. Trying to find their lair and trying to find the lair. So what we can do is we can make some checks, which we will do. We're going to make a... Now, whether you decide to make a perception skill check or a survival skill check, whether your dungeon master asks for those, it's really up to them. I don't think it's really a big issue whether they use one or the other. But in this case, we're going to start off with making a perception check, just to notice danger, maybe tracks on the ground, broken leaves, things or signs that might indicate that there's some sort of creatures, whether it's a dragon or something else, it doesn't matter. So I'll make our perception check. I rolled an 11. Our modifier for that is a +7. It's not bad. It's pretty good, actually. So that's 11 plus 7 is 18. We've got a passive perception of 17 to notice danger in the forest location, which I'm classifying this area, even though there's a road, there's forest around, so I'm classifying as a forest area. Okay, so we've got a pretty good chance of noticing anything that might be leaving sort of signs of footsteps or tracks or broken foliage or maybe poop. Poop is always a good sign that there's been some sort of creature moving through here, or even sort of things that they might have dropped. And we notice that there are signs of sort of blood in the area. So our rangers notice that. Now, if you're moving around on your own, you should definitely be using stealth. So I'm going to make a stealth check as well. Now, we could also make a survival check to try to figure out what it is that has made those tracks. But we'll make the stealth check first. So I roll a 20-sided dice. Okay, I rolled a 14. Now, I know what you're wondering. This is not related to combat. We're leading up to combat. I'm getting there. Okay, 14. I rolled a 14. Add our +7 because we're moving and sneaking around. And where is it? Where is it? We're in a forest. We're going to get to use it. Okay, so that's pretty good. 14 plus 7 is 21. So we're pretty stealthy. Remember that number. 21. Really important. 21. Yeah. Does that even look like a 21? It looks more like a, I don't know, maybe a 0, a 1 and a 0 or something like that. Yeah, there we go. 21. Got it. So remember, that's the stealth. Okay, now we'll make our survival check to sort of figure out what it is that might have left these blood marks, possibly even some sort of, tracks. Maybe there's a print somewhere in there. I rolled a 16. Oh, so 16 plus our skill for survival, which is a +7. We get a +7 when we are in a forest area. And we notice, because we got a 16 plus the 7, comes to a grand total of 23. We notice that it seems like there's tracks from orcs. It's not a dragon, but some sort of creatures come through here. And the blood that's left behind sort of suggests that it's blood that might have come from an orc. I'm not suggesting that rangers taste the blood of orcs often, but maybe this particular ranger does in fact know what the taste of blood is like. It is not actually necessary to worry so much about making a ranger that is focused on distance or on melee. Whether you are up close or at distance, I wouldn't worry about it. My suggestion to you is if you go dexterity, you can do both, okay? Because you just use finesse weapons, things that allow you to use your dexterity modifier rather than just using your strength modifier. And this is what this character is all about. It can do ranged and it can do up close just as well as anything else. Okay, so now that we've done that, here's our orc over here. Our ranger doesn't actually know that there is an orc over there. That's beside the point. The important factor is that we can continue to stealth and move silently through the location to find out what's going on. Now, when I make a stealth check, I'm going to compare that with the orc's passive perception. Now, if it's equal, then the orc would know that there's somebody creeping up towards it. If it's greater than, it will also know that somebody's creeping up towards it. If it's less than, then our ranger is going to be able to sneak up on that orc successfully. The passive perception for an orc is only 10, so that's certainly a lot greater. So our ranger can move up here quietly into the bushes here, moving along, and take up a position to see our orc who's on their own moving up the road. Great position to attempt to make a surprise attack or run away and let everybody else come and give you a hand. It's really up to you. I'm going to go with, since we're supposed to be doing combat, let's try to do a surprise round, because we're going to get surprised if we decide to attack. The orc doesn't know we're here, we are hidden, or at least hiding, and we can go into combat. So we'll roll initiative and see what happens. So I'm going to roll initiative for our ranger. Our ranger's modifier, I rolled a 1. I rolled really bad, like super sucks. So that's 1 plus the 3 for our dexterity modifier comes to 4. That's our initiative. Look how bad that is. That's terrible, isn't it? Things must go bad now. No, it's not actually. It's not actually too much of an issue. All right, so grab a 20-sided dice for the orc, and we'll roll initiative for the orc, who has a dexterity modifier of +1. Okay, well here's an interesting situation. I rolled a 3, +1 for the dexterity modifier for the orc, which means the orc gets 4 as well. Here's the thing though. If I'm the dungeon master and I wind up getting the same score as a player, I have the choice to decide to go first. So I'm going to put the orc at the top of the initiative, even though the scores are the same. In previous versions of the game, you would have a roll-off. You'd both roll a dice to see who would go first, or whoever had the highest dexterity modifier would go first. That doesn't relate to Dungeons & Dragons 5e. All it says in the book is that the dungeon master can choose whether they go first or they go after. It doesn't matter, particularly when the scores are the same. So we'll put the orc at the top. Orc 4. There we go. And we'll chuck in here a box for our hit points, like so. And it's not much of a square, but I'm trying. Here we go. It's another box. Let's put in some hit points to make sure we know who's doing what. So our ranger has 11 hit points. La-da. And our orc has 15. What do I do? Why do I always stack it against the players? Because there are no players involved. I'm not going to cry if things go badly here. And I'm certainly not going to get upset. And it's just a demonstration, so it's just a little bit of fun as far as I'm concerned. Okay. So here we go. We're ready to go. Now, top of the initiative. Here's my little marker. I'll put it over this side because last time I realized putting it on the other side didn't work out. So essentially, top of the initiative. First round. Orc doesn't know the ranger is here, so they don't get to do anything. Orc finishes their turn because they are surprised. They don't get to do anything at all. End of their turn, they are no longer surprised. But it's now the ranger's turn. The ranger is not going to move out of cover. Going to stay in cover so that they get advantage on their attack, and they will also get to do something during the first round because they're not surprised. They're actually surprising the orc. So now we get to roll some dice and do some damage. So let's make some dice rolls, shall we? I'm going to use our longbow. I've got a modifier of +5. It's got a range of 150 feet. Anything beyond that, up to 600 feet, will have disadvantage, but we don't have to worry about that. That range is pretty close. I rolled a 11. Ooh, 11 plus 5 is 16. It needs to be equal to or greater than the armor class of our orc. Orc only has 13 hit points. Sorry, orc, you get hit. So let's roll some damage for our bow, which is our 8-sided dice. Add our 3 for our dexterity modifier. And what do we got there? We've got a 3 plus 3 comes to a grand total of 6. So the orc's going to lose 6 hit points. It's now on, so 15 less 6 is 9. 9 hit points. Here we go. Things went pretty well so far. I can't complain. Okay, so now that we've done that, we're going to move back up to the top and start round 2. The orc is no longer surprised. It can now do something. It knows the location of our ranger. Now the ranger could have moved further back if they wanted to. I decided not to do that because if I keep moving back, I'm going to wind up with the orc essentially not getting to do any attacks because I could do that, but I want you to be able to see what's going to take place if the orc starts battling it. Also too, it gets a little bit more complicated for demonstrating something like stealth, so I'm going to leave that alone. Okay, so orc takes their turn. They can move pretty quick. They're not exactly slow. They can move 30 feet, but they also have, if they can see the target, a hostile creature, which they should be able to do so because the foliage over here rustled and an arrow went flying towards them, so they can see their target. They can also use a bonus action to move again, which is awesome. So we go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Didn't quite make it. That's the move. Now we use our bonus action to continue. 5. We didn't need to move any more than that. And we're going to make an attack. And the thing with an orc is they get a really big, gnarly weapon to use. So we'll grab a 20-sided dice. We'll make an attack with their great axe. I'm not going to bother with something like a javelin. And yes, I know this isn't really sort of tactically smart, but don't worry about it. Oh, by the way, you're right. I was supposed to roll with advantage on the ranger, and I only rolled one dice. So I'll roll it again. No, it wasn't a critical. Good point. Moving along. This is a problem when you do things live. You make mistakes as you go. It's good to have people chiming in, though. All right. So let's make an attack with our orc, who doesn't have advantage on the attack. All right. I rolled a 5. I'm going to add. Whoops. Well, that's not a 5. That's a 15. That was my finger doing that. That was accident. 5 plus 5 is the modifier to add, so that's 10. 10 is not high enough to hit the armor class of our ranger, so hence that's not going to work. But our ranger is in cover. I'm going to count that as giving them a +2 to cover. So their armor class is a little bit higher right now. It's a grand total of like 17 rather than 15. And I know it's like soft cover, but it's still cover of some kind. Makes it a little bit harder to hit you. Anyway, the orc missed. And we're going to move on to our ranger. Now, our ranger has the choice of disengaging or dodging or just moving away and then bringing in the rest of the party. But we're going to slug it out because we did a ranged attack. Let's do a sword attack. Let's use our short sword. So I'm going to drop the longbow. Requires no interaction, action, bonus action, or anything like that. I draw out my short sword as an interaction, and I'm going to use my action to attack that orc. So I don't get advantage this time, okay? That's the thing to remember, is I don't get advantage anymore because I already had that opportunity. I am seen currently. I am there. So roll your 20-sided dice. I rolled a 10 plus 5 is 15, which is greater than and equal to the armor class of the orc. So we hit again. Good news. Now the short sword's a little bit different in terms of damage. You're going to roll a 6-sided dice and add +3, okay? All right, so I rolled a 1, plus 3 is 4, so it's going to lose 4 hit points. 9 less 4 is 5. There we go. Done. Okay, good news. Let us move on. We've now I could move out of the cover if I wanted to, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stay put in the cover for now. But I might yell out really loudly for my friends to come. Help! There's an orc up here, or something like that. So yell out, call for help, call for assistance. I can do that. Moving over, we'll go to the orc's turn. The orc will make their attack with the great axe. Swing it. Doosh. I rolled a 2. 2's pretty bad. 2 plus 5 is 7. 7 isn't going to hit the armor class of our ranger, who's currently got an armor class of 17 because of the cover bonus. So misses again. Geesh, this orc's not doing too well. The orc will also call out for help in orcish as well. You knew something was up, right? Okay, it is now the ranger's turn. So the ranger will make their attack. We'll use our short sword again. Okay, so it's not quite as good. Here's the problem. Sometimes you don't hit. So I rolled a 4. And I'm going to add 5 to my attack for my attack modifier, which only comes to 9. So I don't hit the orc. So that's a miss. Now I have a choice at this point to start making decisions about whether I should just move and take an attack of opportunity and get out of dodge, or I keep going with it. But no, I'm going to stay put. Things aren't going too badly. I haven't been hurt yet. We'll go with the orc. Making an attack with our orc. Great axe again. We're pretty much just... Oh, it looked bad. Okay, that's a critical. So when you roll a 20, it's an automatic hit and it's a critical. So you get to roll twice as many dice as you would normally roll. And I get to roll a 12-sided dice. That's the big baby. So that thing there for the orc is the great axe. And I get to roll another one because it's a great axe, because it's a critical. Double the dice. Okay, so let's roll these and see what we get. Okay, so I rolled a 10. I rolled a 6. That's 16 plus my modifier, which is a +3. So that's 19 hit points. Wallop. So we've just knocked the ranger down to 0 hit points. Doesn't kill them, they're just dying. Something like that. Okay, so things have gone a bit wonky. And I've done this deliberately, guys, I always do. It allows me to show you the mechanics of other parts of the game, such as a death saving throw, which I'm going to get to do in a second. So our orc can't do anything else, but he keeps yelling out. And now we're going to go over to our ranger. Now our ranger can't do anything right now. They are down, they are dying. It's all over for the ranger. What will we do? What will we do? We're going to make a death saving throw. Grab your 20-sided dice. You don't get to add anything to this thing unless you have some sort of magical effect that will allow you to get a bonus for your death saving throw. So roll a 20-sided dice. If I roll a 1, it's really bad. You get 2 failures. And if you roll anything from a 2 through to a 9, it's a failure, 1 failure. If I roll a 10 through to 19, that's 1 success. If I roll a 20, I can get back up with 1 hit point if I want to, which I would really like to do. So it would be nice if the dice would actually roll a 20, but who knows. I rolled an 11, so that's 1 success. I need either 3 successes or 3 failures. 3 successes and I'm stable, but not up and functioning, but not dying anymore. Or I'm going to get 3 failures and I'm dead as a doorknob, and then somebody's going to have to chuck me a magical pill of some kind. Okay, but don't worry, it's all right, because we're going to move this out of the way. And I'm going to move these dice over here. And I'm going to move that dice over here. Right now, those calls have been heard. The party has moved in closer. And they come up the road. They're up the road making their tracks. Somebody might have crossed through off the road, you know, who knows. It's always possible. He's probably quite slow. You're probably slow. Dritz is probably faster. The wizard's probably behind. Something like that. And they're coming up on that orc. That orc's in trouble now. Yes, they're in trouble. But what they don't know is that the orc also had some buddies coming up the road. And because of that, it's going to get more complicated. There are going to be some orcs coming up the road as well. They are trekking, and of course they can move really, really fast. So they got running full tit. Or should I say full, yes, very, very quickly. One of those things. So I'm going to put out some orcs. What you need to do today to make sure I don't put out too many orcs is say, please stop, Fred, I've had enough. Please stop, Fred, I've had enough. Those words exactly. I'll keep putting some out. You let me know when you think that's enough orcs for this encounter, and I will stop when you say something that represents, essentially, please stop, that's enough. I haven't seen anybody say anything. Okay, that's the ones in the container that I brought. I've got a bag here actually of them too, by the way, so I can keep putting more out if I need to. Certainly I hope that I've actually put them in a location where you can see them. If you can't see them, you let me know. Oh, there's my bag. Moving on to the bag now. Please stop. No, please stop. I've had enough. Exact wording. Thank you very much. I was very specific in my instructions. Please stop. I've had enough. Because this is the sort of thing. Oh, look, I've got a big one as well. Okay, all right, I got it. Grailed. Well done, well done. You got the message correct. You've got to use exact wording, otherwise I don't stop. Okay, so essentially today we have demonstrated all the features of our ranger. That is, I've talked a little bit about the favoured enemy, natural explorer. I know it's a little bit hard to understand. Essentially, I do have more than 5 more, but I'm not putting out. Somebody's already said the word, man. I'm stopping. That's it. So essentially we've covered Natural Explorer and sort of talked about that. We've used our Perception check, we've used our Survival check, we've used our Stealth check. As we can see, if you find another creature as a ranger and it's really tempting to attack them, do not do what I just did. Sneak away and find the rest of the party, then sneak into position and then attack the orc with 3 different characters, or 4 or 5 or 6 characters, whatever you got at your table, not just one. This is how not to do it. Don't do it on your own. Go and get friends, or I don't know, even farmers, so that they can whittle down the numbers, or at least be cannon fodder, or something like that. So we've covered all of the basics for our ranger, and at level 1 really all you've got to worry about is making attacks either at range or with a short sword, and there's really nothing else to sort of play with, unfortunately. So if you enjoyed this content, found it entertaining, amusing, I'm so happy. That's good news, because then I've done something right or I've done something wrong. Please share and like the video if you enjoyed this content. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. Hit the bell button to be notified when I do live streams and when I publish new videos. Really helpful for me. And if you want to support my channel, watching this video and other videos that I have made will certainly support me as well, as long as you don't have an ad blocker running or something like that and you skip the ads. I understand that. I don't do Patreon, but down in the description I have affiliate links, you know, the affiliate marketing thing to Amazon and the book depository, which you can click on, and I get a bonus or a benefit from you buying from them through that link. Now, here's your opportunity to say hi to me, say bye to me, ask questions, give feedback, point out the mistakes that I have made during my live stream, because I'm sure I have, because I feel like I'm about to melt in this room as I do this live stream. So give me some feedback in the live stream. Otherwise, if you're not part of the live stream, that's what the comment section's all about. Put down a comment and let me know what you think, what's going on, what's rattling on in your brain somewhere. And if it's a nice comment, I will respond. And if you're being abusive, then I will ignore you. Until next time, keep rolling those 20s. I'm not gone. It just looks like it. Okay, I'm coming back. Now, I don't have the camera on my face. You don't need to see me sweating in this room. That would just be disgusting. Not pleasant for me. I do hope that some of you found this mildly entertaining, possibly educational. It's clear to me that sticking more and more creatures or monsters on the table is a big win. How's it going, Death Warrior? Hello. We already discussed whether it's better to go distance or range, or at close quarters. Doesn't matter. Make sure you pimp out your dexterity, and who cares? Peace Tranquility. Fantastic name. I haven't played since high school. Just bought a starter pack. This is awesome. Okay, well, I don't know if you're playing now, Peace. If you're playing the game, I have lots of other videos that should be helpful. If you're talking about the Dungeons and Dragons starter set with the Lost Mine of Phandelver in it, I do have a Dungeon Master guide. So if you're dungeon mastering, go and check it out. It should help you. Death War. I love this kind of video. Thank you, man. Greetings from California, Colombia. Colombia. California, I'm assuming it's California, Colombia, right? Rue Petro Conclaves. I'm so sorry, I've butchered your name horribly. You forgot the advantage, shut up now and watch. No, it was a good point, and I did make sure to roll the dice. We didn't get the critical, unfortunately. Might have made all the difference, though. Death War. He won't use it there. No. I was going to. I just forgot. You know, I'm perspiring. My brain isn't functioning properly. I haven't been drinking enough water, and I've been talking for the last half hour. This is where the ranger dies. Well, I don't think the ranger will necessarily die. I think it's possible that things could go all right. Maybe. And if a dragon shows up, then everybody dies. So, yeah. Bronos Sunstar Ranger, how's it going, mate? Does inspiration work on death saves? Yes, it does. Bronos Sunstar Ranger. Fantastic name. Very long. And I do appreciate when you come in. That's actually a really good question. Yes, you can use inspiration on a death saving throw. You can give yourself inspiration or advantage, so you can roll 2 dice and take the highest result on your death saving throw. Or if one of your buddies is about to die and needs to make a death saving throw, you can give them your inspiration to roll advantage. Okay? Super, and that's a fantastic question. I don't think anybody's actually asked me that question before. Be the first time. Peace Tranquility is having a good laugh there. I'm glad somebody found it entertaining. Travis Porter. Don't say anything. Let's see how many he gets. Mate, I had a few more. Do you want to see the rest of them? I'll just dump them on the table. How's that? There you go. There was a few more to come. But fortunately, somebody said the magic word. Rio, Petro. I'm just going to go Pedro. I'm just going to call you Pedro. Is that all right? Please stop. No, you've got to say the magic word. Greyald said the magic word, which is please stop. That's enough. Okay, all right, moving on. I think that's all sort of basic stuff. 4 more. No, we're not doing that. That's a lot of orcs. Yes, it is, but there are. I actually have more than this. You can never have too many orcs. I feel that you've got too many orcs when there's 40 on the table. But then, you know, to be fair, I think 6 miniatures on the table for the Dungeon Master is getting a bit silly anyway. Yes, you need a wizard with fireball, and those orcs will be gone. Cleaning house. Okay, Travis, what do you got here? Well played with the numbers. I've got a few. Have to resort to quarters with an orc on them. I with an O on them. Quarters with an O on them. Quarters with an O. Like what? A 10, a 20, a 50. I don't know what sort of coins you use. I'm assuming that's what you mean. So the moral of the story is don't split the party, and if you do split the party and you are sneaking around and doing a good job, don't make an attack. Go and find your buddies. Yes, that is the message for today, Ranger. As it happens, you're quite right. Look, I really wanted to say to people who thought that this channel was sort of falling apart a little bit, I'm not gone. As with 2018 and the technical issues I had with live streaming and my internet, it seems like we are bringing in 2019 and will continue to have more technical issues. And it probably wouldn't matter if I only did one video every week like other channels, but because I don't, you will notice it with my channel. That's just sort of how it is. Okay. Now, I want to pack it up there. I will keep releasing stuff. I've got to go and do the food thing, but I've also got to go and film a new video. I'm going to show you guys how to make your own initiative tracker. It's going to be a magnetic whiteboard that you can stick magnets to, like I've been doing, but it'll be flexible, so you can also stick it to your fridge when you're not playing Dungeons and Dragons, and use it to wipe out. Yeah, I'm going to use it to write your shopping list on the fridge, so that your missus doesn't feel that everything that you do and make is always related to Dungeons and Dragons. So I'm going to go and do the filming for that now and release it as soon as I get an opportunity to do so. Hey, thank you for everybody. Yes, the magnetic tracker. Yes, that's right, Steve. It's coming. I've promised it. And I bought all the parts, and it was really cheap. And some of it I might have actually sort of just borrowed from somebody. It happens. Creeper Kid, hello. How's it going? Okay, I'm going to get going, guys, because I am about to pass out. Thank you for showing up. Hopefully this was helpful to somebody. This video will get released as an edited version at some point. I just don't know when. So, yeah. I don't know when. Sorry. Very cool, Fred. Thank you, honey. Do I list done? Yes, that's right. Yeah, exactly. There's multiple benefits to the things you use at your table. Okay, I'll see you later, people.